So I just got done at the sale barn, and I am currently driving home. I got my phone in my lap because I am driving, and I don't want to be fiddle farting around with it while I drive home, and I figured I would do this right now. Today was a real good day at the sale barn. I got a load of good animals. One of the animals, I was taking a good look at him as I was loading him up into the trailer, and one of them is foaming at the mouth already. And so if they're foaming at the mouth, there's different reasons for why it could be happening. Sometimes if they're running around and they're getting real hot, they'll start foaming at the mouth. Sometimes when they're sick, they will start foaming at the mouth too. When they have inflammation in their lungs, that inflammation will cause them to foam at the mouth. And so today I'm gonna take them home, and then I'm gonna give them all a shot of antibiotics together. And then, but I did real good at the sale barn today. I actually got one real big animal. I got confused. They were running animals around in the ring, and I got confused. I didn't know what animal I didn't know what animal I was bidding on, and I thought I was bidding on one animal, but it turned out I was bidding on another animal. I thought I was bidding on an animal that weighed 635, but the animal ended up weighing 830. But it's not that big of a deal. I got a lot of cheap feed, and so I put them on feed, and then I'll put 100 pounds on them and take them back to market with the other animals, so it's not that big of a deal. But right now, I'm on my way home, and I'm doing real good for myself. I got a lot of good cattle. I got a lot of good cattle today. The market was good, and so I'm gonna go home. I got a lot of things going on this weekend. I got to get my grass fertilized. I got to get a load of feed in, and I got to get everything squared away. But there's always that what I say, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And I'm actually glad that I'm not fiddle farting around my phone right now, because there's a person trying to pull in this giant trailer, and I nearly hit it. I don't know what they're doing though. They're taking up the whole road. I don't know what they're doing. Got to be careful when you're driving. Don't be using your phone when you're driving. It's not good. And one of the things that I say is that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And when I say things, and I'm just speaking my mind, I'm not looking to be a prick. You got to be. I would like to make it very, transparent. That I am not like kicking you while you're down. I'm not looking to kick people while they're down. I'm just giving my life experiences as I have seen them. And if anything, I would be much happier. I'm just gonna be honest. If you made it, if you became successful, I would be very happy for you. I mean, why would I not be, right? Why would I want to see you fail? I mean, there is honestly not any good reason to want to see people fail, right? I mean, it's just kind of pathetic. If you ever, and this is one of those things about the world that if you really take a look around, you're going to see that there are people who genuinely sit there their entire lives hoping that you fail. That is how they are. Genuinely, they do not go out of their way to succeed or nothing. They will sit there and they will legitimately hope that you fail. And, the people watching my YouTube channel, I would think that this video is probably not going to be one of the most viewed videos that I got, because, I mean, you're just sitting on my lap. You're just, the phone is just pointed at my lap right now so that I can drive. And, so I figured that this is not going to be the most watched video that I make. But a lot of people, you have to understand that there are a lot of people, not a lot, but there are people who genuinely sit around, think highly of themselves, and then hope that you fail. That is genuinely how they live their lives. You have to be aware of that. I mean, there are a lot of reasons to fail. There are a lot of reasons to fail. If you find a reason to succeed, I'm very happy for you. And if you're going to be like a poor, pathetic person, keep that nonsense away from me, right? I'm a very busy person. I got a lot going for me. I work 7 days a week. I'm not trying to sit here and fiddle fart around with your nonsense. I'm not. If you die tomorrow, I do not care. But a lot of people, once you start to see it, you will not be able to unsee it. You will become aware of what is going on. A lot of people are like fleas in jars. They do not realize that, and what I've said was, a lot of people are morons taught to be a moron by morons, right? At one point, let's say we put a whole bunch of fleas in a jar, and we put a lid on the jar, and 3 days later, we open the lid of the jar, and the fleas are going to stay in the jar, right? Practically under any circumstance, the fleas are going to stay in the jar. When the fleas have offspring, the offspring will not even attempt to leave the jar. They will not leave the jar. They do not know why. They have never experienced the lid in their lives, right? The offspring do not know what the lid is. But that is called learned behavior, right? And a lot of people do not realize that just because that there was a lid on your life at some point does not mean that there needs to be a lid on your life at all times. If you just jump 1 centimeter higher, you will legitimately be in a different world. A lot of people do not know that. If you just start making small changes, if you just jump 1 centimeter higher, you can legitimately leave your world behind. You can. If you just go out and get a little bit better of a job, the world that you are in right now, completely gone. If you invest in something, practically anything that is equitable, realistically, you should be looking for a good investment. But, if you invest in something, if you just jump 1 centimeter higher, you can legitimately leave your entire world behind. Living in this idea that, that you're stuck in a jar forever with an imaginary lid is not good. It's not good. And maybe when I use my life as an example, always just attempt to jump higher. Always. It does not matter what anybody says. I always say keep your pathetic poorness to yourself, right? Like if you may think that when you speak with me, or that so I've seen a lot of people, right? I've seen a lot of people, and they've come up with some nonsensical moronic plan, right? They've come up with some nonsensical moronic plan, and then when they speak to me, it's like they believe that they are doing something smart. But you do not understand that if you come up to me and you give me some moronic, idiotic plan, I may not say anything to you, but the reason I'm not saying anything to you is because I believe that you are beyond hope. And genuinely, I have just come to the conclusion that it is best to just leave you to die on your own, legitimately. I am not going to even attempt to save you. I will not even attempt to do so. I am being dead serious. If you think that you've come up with some good plan, and you give me that plan, and I will genuinely leave you to die if it's something moronic. I will not even attempt to save you. Do not give me these worthless plans, right? Whatever it is that you are doing, if you are poor, I've always said that being poor, I'm not kicking you while you're down. I'm not looking to make fun of you. If anything, I am looking to make you realize what is happening with your life. Because when you realize what is happening with your life, being poor is like being on drugs. If you're on drugs, if you just admit to yourself that you are on drugs, you are off to a good start. Maybe, you can do something about it, right? And it's the same thing with being poor. If you just admit it to yourself, you don't have to admit it to yourself in a way that makes you feel like a pathetic person. You just admit it to yourself like an objective fact. And it does not take much to get away from being poor. You don't need $10 million. I'm not like sitting here like encouraging people to go and make $1 million. I'm not sitting here encouraging people to go and make 10 grand. I'm not sitting here encouraging people to make 100 grand, $10 million, $1 million. What I'm not saying that you need to do that. It's just very minor changes. If you essentially just jump 1 centimeter higher, you can legitimately leave your entire world behind. If you just go out and get a better job tomorrow, if you just start looking for a better job, if you call a banker and ask them, how much money will you lend me to buy a house? Let's say that you've decided that you want to invest in a home, right? Let's just say you want to invest in a home, or you want to invest in a Roth IRA, and you're just going to buy the S&P 500 and you're going to call it a day. Or realistically, if you do both, that would be fantastic. I do not think that buying a home is a good idea. Oh, I'm not going to say it's not a good idea. It's an okay idea, but buying a home is not a very good investment. Like when I talk about the investments that I have right now, you're just going to have to make investments that make sense for you, right? As of right now, I personally have a whole life, whole life policy, life insurance, whole life insurance. I pay $250 a month for whole life insurance, and I can take a loan against that here in about 3 years with zero interest. And if you want to know what whole life insurance is, you can if you got a State Farm agent around you. I got my insurance policy through State Farm. I got my life insurance policy through State Farm, and they gave me I can take a loan against it at 0% here by starting on the 4th year, and so that'll be in about 2.5 years, 3 years. I can take a loan against it at 0%. That's my I got a few investments. I got a piece of property that's netting a cash flow because I farm it. I have a whole life insurance, and I have my cattle. And so I have real estate, I have cattle, and I have whole life insurance. And by the end of this tax year, I will also have a Roth IRA, and I'm just going to buy the S&P 500. I'm just going to buy the $6,000 worth of the S&P 500 a month, or excuse me, a year. And so, as of right now, I'm also looking at buying more land. And so, those are my major investments right now. And if you want to know what whole life insurance is, and you can go on Google and look it up. And if you got a State Farm agent around you, you can just look up State Farm agent around me and call them and ask them about whole life insurance. And whatever it is that makes sense to you, you can do whatever makes sense to you. I mean, if a rental property makes sense to you, then go and get a rental property. But I've already said that the big problem with owning a home is that if you buy a home, and your home is your entire net worth, that home does not produce you any money. So if you're looking to retire, like I've already said, the 3 ways that I would define being poor. The 3 ways that I would define being poor is: number 1, you don't have any money. Number 2, you don't have a retirement. And number 3, you just have so little money that it's actually causing your family problems, right? Those are the 3 major ways that I would define being poor. And if you are one of those 3 things, I would consider you a poor person. You may not be spiritually poor, but you are a poor person financially. If you don't have any money, then you're poor. You're financially poor. If you are financially poor, but you are looking to do better for yourself, then I would consider you a spiritually rich person. Like, let's say that you've sat down with yourself, and whatever it is that you are looking to do, right? You're looking to run cattle, you're looking to invest in real estate, whatever it is that you are looking to do. And, you're looking to start a family, and whatever it is that you're looking to do, if you're sitting there and I've always said, don't make your peace with man. A lot of men are stupid morons. I would almost guarantee, if you put 1,000 people, random people, any people, 1,000 of any people, they could be anything, white, black, Mexican, Asian, whatever, whatever they are. If you put, dumb, smart, whatever they may be, if you put 1,000 of them together at random, 998 of them would be a tard. I can almost, if we're going to talk business, if we are going to talk business, 998 of them would be a tard. They're on some worthless thing, right? I mean, it's especially when you're talking about business, because the moment you get money involved, it changes people. Money changes people. Very rarely do you see somebody, it's like, if you give them money, they will legitimately just not change. Like, you can give them $1 million tomorrow, or you can give them $1,000 tomorrow. It does not matter how much money you give them. If you give them money, they will not change. Very rarely. Like, if most people, like, I can show you that it costs me about $1,000 a month to run a farm, right? It costs about $1,000 a month to run a 10-acre farm. If you go and you buy a 20-acre piece of land right now and you run 100 cattle on it, you're going to be paying about $2,500 a month, and you could genuinely make yourself like 20 grand a month, right? And it's going to, that let's say it costs you $2,500 a month. With the current commodity markets where they are right now, the grain market is very low. The feeder cattle market is still at near all-time highs. I can almost guarantee you, whatever it is, and it's not just farming. I'm just using farming as an example. If you say that you want to be a farmer, if I gave you almost anybody, 998 out of 1,000 people, maybe even more, if I gave those 998 people $2,500 a month, $30,000 a year, if I just gave it to them, they would change. They would not want to be a farmer anymore. I can almost guarantee it. I would be willing to bet 10-1 odds that if I gave somebody $2,500, 998 out of let's say we put 1,000 people together, and everybody is saying that they want to be a farmer. All 1,000 people are saying that they want to be a farmer. 998 or more, probably even more. I would say even more. If I gave them $2,500 a month, they would not want to be a farmer anymore. They would go and do something else. Something else would become the priority in their life. They would go and buy themselves a new truck. They would go, have, drinks every weekend. They would go, almost everybody would self-sabotage. Almost everybody would self-sabotage. I can almost guarantee it. And here's the thing, right? I've already said, I can almost guarantee you, if you actually went out of your way to try and be a farmer, and you attempted to do what I'm doing, you would crap your pants when you realize how hard this is. It's almost impossible. I've always said that the moment you introduce difficulty to anything, it does not matter what it is. It could be a business. It could be, if you want to start a business. The moment you make things difficult, almost everybody starts to quit. And I am being 100% serious. I'm not saying this to sound like a prick. If it's easy, everybody's going to do it. The moment that you introduce difficulty into the equation, almost everybody quits. And if you look at your life, right, and you're going, you know what, I want to start a business. Are you sure about that? It is going to be the most difficult thing that you have ever done in your entire life, more than likely. Almost everybody fails. When it comes to running a business, legitimately, almost everybody fails. I mean, more than, it must be more than 80%. Okay, here's the thing about running a business. And I would also consider if somebody starts a business and just makes enough money to live on, why would you run a business? What is the point of that? You could have made enough money to live on and had insurance benefits and all that stuff. You would have lived a better life if you had gotten a good job, or just a decent job. You went out into the marketplace tomorrow and you found a decent job. Why would you go and run a business? If that is all you want, at the end of the day, and I'm not making fun of you, and I'm not looking to make you feel like a pathetic person. There is nothing wrong with just working and, being sensible, right? I mean, if you are working and you're just sensible, right? You take a look at yourself and you say, oh, well, if I make $65,000 a year, and I got a middle-class home, and I drive a good car, a decent car, you may even, oh, give me a second here. I got to take a look at the road. You drive a decent car. You live just a happy life. You just live. I mean, happiness. I've always said happiness is kind of irrelevant. I mean, if you're walking around like you're on drugs 24/7, something's wrong with you. I mean, that level, happiness like that. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to think that is how you should live, because that's kind of just unreasonable. But there is nothing wrong with just having a good job and living a good life. There's nothing wrong with it, right? I mean, there is honestly nothing wrong with it. I mean, people need to be working. I mean, people need to be working, right? I mean, work, society needs to, keep going, society needs to keep on rolling, right? And so I would personally consider that if somebody starts a business and only makes enough money to just get by, then that is also a failure of a business. And realistically, so the thing about business is that if you cannot make money where you are right now, genuinely you cannot make money, if you cannot make money where you are right now. I started my business on a $2,000 tractor. If you cannot make money where you are right now, then you should not put more money into your business. If it's some small amount of money, then it does not matter. It's like, if we're talking about, 10 grand, if you have 10 grand in your life savings and you put the 10 grand into your business and you go, oh, I'm actually doing okay. I made a 20% return on my money. Let's say you put 10 grand into something and you got 12 grand. And you go, oh, well, I'm doing pretty good, right? 20% is very good. 20% return on your money is very good. You should be able to make money with the money that you have. You should be able to make money where you are right now. If you cannot make money where you are right now, throwing more money at it is only going to cause you problems. I can almost guarantee, if you cannot make money right now, going into debt and just throwing more money at it's just going to cause you problems. And realistically, if you want to own a business, I would highly suggest buying a business. Do not start a business. Starting a business is a horrible idea for most people. Most people, when they are talking about starting a business, they are about to embark on a self-implosion, self-destructive, moronic fantasy. They are, I can almost guarantee it. I would bet 10 to 1 odds that a majority of people, when they are thinking about starting a business, they are not actually doing anything. They are about to legitimately go straight off, like swimming off into the ocean, looking for an island of gold. I can almost guarantee it. There is no island of gold. If you go swimming off into the ocean, you're going to get stuck out there and then you're going to die. If you genuinely want to run a business, you are more likely better off purchasing a business. If you purchase a business, your chances of having a decently good business goes up drastically, because when you purchase the business, you can double check the numbers. You can check all the numbers. You can make sure that everything lines up. And if it doesn't line up, I've always said, always make sure that the numbers are correct, right? You want to make sure that the numbers are correct. And if the numbers do not line up and it is not a bad, if it's going to put you in a bad situation, then do not invest in it ever, right? I've already said, do not ever take a bad deal, right? Do not ever take a bad deal. If you take a bad deal thinking that you can fix it, you're in for the time of your life. You probably can't fix it. Do not ever take a bad deal. And so your chances of being a successful business owner goes up substantially when you buy a business. If you start a business, your chances of failing are drastically high, to a degree that almost everybody who is looking to start a small business should not be starting a small business. They would be better off getting a job. Honestly would. Most people would honestly live a better life if they did not start their small business and got a good to decent job, a decent to good job. Honestly would. And if you are in a situation right now where you are poor, I can almost guarantee, and I'm not saying this to make fun of you, and I'm not saying this to kick you while you're down. I'm not saying this to get a kick out of it. I'm not saying this because I enjoy saying it. I'm saying this because I'm just stating my mind as objectively correctly as I see things. Almost everybody is living like, if you are poor, the reason you are poor is because you are living like a flea in a jar. You were taught to be a moron by morons. And you believe that there is a lid on your life. You do not realize that if you just jump 1 centimeter higher, that there legitimately is no lid. That is the thing that you do not realize, is that there is no lid. If you just jump 1 centimeter higher, you can get out of the jar. You do not need to throw some Hail Mary, right? I mean, you do not need to throw some Hail Mary. You do not need to go swimming off into the ocean, right? You do not need to throw some Hail Mary. If you genuinely want to start a business and be successful, I would highly suggest, I'm just going to be honest. You need to be aware of the reality that you should be able to make money where you are right now, as of right now. If you are looking to start a business by throwing money at it, there is a very, I would say over 80 to 90%. If you are looking to start a small business by throwing money at it, I would say that there is over an 80 to 90% chance that you would honestly just have been happier if you just got yourself a decent to good job. I would say over 80 to 90%. And if you want to be a business owner, you're more than likely better off buying a business. Because when you buy a business, the numbers are already there in front of you. You can just go and double check the numbers. You can go and make sure that the numbers are correct. And then you can work a deal so that the numbers work in your favor to some degree. And at that point, you can, just run the business, right? Don't self-sabotage yourself. Don't take the money out of the business and then go and self-sabotage yourself, right? I mean, I'm just going to say that as a business owner, I would say that I run a successful business to somewhat of a degree. I mean, most people, if people figured out that they could honestly run, 50, 60 cattle on 10 acres and make $12,000, $14,000 a month, most people would crap their pants. It's a significant amount of money. I mean, I'm just going to be honest at this point in time. As long as I do not self-sabotage myself, I essentially have enough money to do whatever I want to a reasonable degree. If I want to go and buy more land, I can go and buy more land. If I want to buy more cattle, I can buy more cattle. Okay, here's the thing. Like me, when I see somebody, a lot of people think that they can hide in the tall grass, but they can't, right? I mean, you cannot hide in the tall grass. If you are a tard, you may not notice that you are tard, but you cannot hide in the tall grass, right? If you are driving around in a super nice car, okay, here's the thing. If you told me that you own a business, right? If you told me that you own a business and you make $250,000 a year, like let's just use my numbers as an example. Let's just say you run a business and you make $250,000 a year, and about half of that is net profit for you. That's about what my numbers are, right? That's almost exactly what my numbers are. I make about $250,000 a year, and about I gotta make a turn here, but there's a car coming up. And I don't want to miss the turn. But let's say you make $250,000 a year, right? Oh, give me a second. I gotta focus here. I don't want to get in a wreck. But let's just use my numbers as an example, right? Let's say you make $250,000 a year, and about half of that is net profit. So you're making about $12,000 a month. If I spoke to you, and if you walked up to me and you were driving like a Lamborghini, right? You're like, oh my God, I make $12,000 a month. I make $12,000 a month. I'm going to go and buy a Lamborghini for $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month. And that's only a third of my pay. I don't care, whatever, right? I would think you're a tard. If you're driving around, if you have a boat out on a lake, I would think you are a tard, right? I mean, I've already said that me, in terms of my business, and I've thought about what I'm thinking about. And, if things go horribly wrong for me, I will let y'all know, right? But in terms of what am I doing, I would say that reasonably that I believe that what I am doing is reasonable. The number one thing that I buy are tax-deductible assets that I am able to appreciate profitably. That is the number one thing that my money goes into, right? I buy cattle, I buy cattle feed. If I can make money on the cattle, I will buy cattle. If I can make money on the cattle feed, I will buy cattle feed. That is the number one thing that I buy. The number two thing that I buy is real estate. Because real estate, if I buy a piece of land, chances are it will appreciate on its own over a long period of time. I do not really have the capacity to appreciate the value of the land. I don't know enough about real estate to genuinely just go and appreciate the value of the land profitably. I don't know enough to do that. But chances are over a long period of time, the value of the land will go up. It will be an appreciable asset. And if I buy more land, I can buy more cattle and I can buy more cattle feed. And the third thing that I buy is equipment. And when I say the third thing that I buy is equipment, is that number one and number two. Number one is up at the very top. Number two is just below it, a little bit below it. And number three is like way on the bottom. Way on the bottom. The very last thing that I want to buy is equipment. Because equipment, it is tax deductible, but it will almost always guaranteed to be a depreciable asset. I can almost guarantee that equipment will depreciate, but you can tax deduct it. Equipment is a tax deductible asset, and sometimes you do need equipment. Like sometimes you do need equipment, but you do not need to buy equipment, right? I mean, you can lease it, etc., etc. And so, number three is way on the bottom. And after I've bought the three things, then at the money that I have left over is the money that I spend. Like if I want to go and buy myself a good house, if I want to buy myself a better house, I'll take the money after I've invested in those three things. Right? And this is also what I mean by a house is not that a house is an okay investment. A house is an okay investment, but the big problem with a house, like me, okay, if I were going to buy a house, and everybody has their different investment philosophies, you just got to go and find something that works for you. If I were to buy a house, me personally, actually, which I already have, right? And actually, I will just give you my investment portfolio because, if you, I'll just give it to you because it is objectively correct information. This is what I'm doing, and this is how I've reasoned myself to do it. I bought a house. I have a piece of land, but the land that I bought, the reason that I bought the land is because I am farming it. My big intentions was to farm it. And when I first got to the property, my big plan was that do or die, I need to find a way to make money on the property. That was my big thing. Was that either I find a way to make money farming or legitimately I die trying. I die in the process. That was what was going through my head when I first bought my piece of land. When I bought the piece of land, the reason I bought land was because in my head, I had come to the conclusion. Well, I had been farming for about 12 years before I bought my piece of land. I had been a crop man for about 12 years. And in my head, I told myself, I made my peace with God. I said, I need to find a way to make money farming or die in the process. That was what was going through my head. I did not, I was not going through some la la land fantasy. I was not like, I'm gonna start a farm, and when I start a farm, it's gonna turn into a mystical, magical adventure. And the mystical, magical adventure is gonna work out for me in some spectacular, magical fashion. I did not think like that. When I started my farm, it was genuinely, I need to find a way to make money or die in the process. And so that was how I started my farm. And right now, my farm more than pays for itself. My farm more than pays for itself. I would actually say that I'm netting a profit of about $4,000 a month right now. I make about $4,000 a month of net excess income as of right now. So my investment portfolio is that I have a piece of land that produces revenue, net positive income. I have a whole life insurance policy that after the 4th year, I am able to borrow against, I am able to take a loan against at 0% interest. And after about, I believe that it is the 10-year mark. After the 10-year mark, the amount of money that I'm putting into my life insurance policy will actually, the value of my life insurance policy will actually be worth more than the money that I put into it. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, if you have a State Farm agent around you, or if you have a life insurance policy, if you have a life insurance agent somewhere around you, just look it up on Google, life insurance agent. Ask them about their policies, and then just look at the charts, right? I mean, just look at the insurance policy, see what it says on it. But that is my investment strategy right now, is that I have a piece of land that produces a net positive income. I have a whole life insurance policy that I am able to take a loan against starting on the 4th year, and by the 10th year, the amount of money that I have put into it, the life insurance policy, will be worth more than the amount of money that I've put into it. I have my cattle, and then by the end of this tax year, within the next 6 months or so, I am also going to have a Roth IRA that I just purchased the S&P 500 on. And as of right now, I am in the process of leveraging my current cash flow to purchase more land so that I am able to run more cattle. So those are the 5 major investments that I have going for me right now. I currently have a piece of land that is producing a net positive cash flow. I have a life insurance policy, a whole life insurance policy. I have my cattle that I am running cattle. I am in the process. By the end of the year, by the end of this tax year, I will have started a Roth IRA and put the $6,000 or whatever it is that I'm allowed to put into, that I'm able to put into it for a tax deduction. I will have put that into my S&P 500. I will have put that into an S&P 500 stock and then just added that to a Roth IRA. And then I will have purchased more land. I will have purchased more land so that I'm able to purchase more, to run more cattle. Those are the 5 major investments that I personally have right now. And you don't need to do any of the cattle stuff. Legitimately, you don't I think a lot of people do not understand that if you genuinely just jump 1 centimeter higher, you're good to go. If you just, and I'm not saying that you should go and buy a whole life insurance policy. Go and look into it for yourself, and if it makes sense to you, then go ahead and do it. It made sense to me, so I'm doing it. So I did it. I bought a whole life insurance policy. I bought a home. I bought a home with a piece of land on it. And then, S&P 500 and a Roth IRA. And then instead of the cattle, if you just go and buy, instead of running cattle, if you just go and get a little bit better of a job tomorrow, I'm telling you, if you just go and make an extra $10 an hour, most people, if you just go and make an extra $10 an hour, you will essentially be out of the jar that you are in. Granted that you do not self-sabotage yourself. If you just go and make an extra $10, $15 an hour and then you don't ruin it for yourself, you will be in a different universe. It will be like you have entered a different universe. You just need to jump 1 centimeter higher. Just get a whole life insurance. For me, that is why I have made my whole that is why I have made my personal investment portfolio the way that I have. My whole life insurance policy, after the 10th year, the life insurance policy will be worth more than I've put into it, and I can take a loan against my life insurance policy at a 0% interest starting by the 4th year. And so, I figured, by the 10th year, if I want to take a loan against my whole life insurance policy and take the money out of my life insurance policy at a 0% interest, and then, go and buy more cattle or buy more land, I can do that, right? If I want to buy a rental property, I can do that, right? There are a lot of things that you can do, but essentially, I would personally say that if you have a whole life insurance policy, if you have a decent home, if you have a good home, a decent middle class home, and then you have a Roth IRA with the S&P 500 in it, you're pretty much good to go. That is what I believe. Personally, that is what I believe. That is how, and why am I telling you this? Because that is how that is my personal investment portfolio. Other than the cattle, if we're just going to not talk about cattle for a minute, and just if you want to hear my other investment, the other investments that I have made, those are the investments that I have made, and those are investments that anybody can make. Anybody can go and buy a whole life insurance policy. Anybody can go and buy themselves a middle class home. Anybody can go and start a Roth IRA and put the S&P 500 in it. But that is essentially my entire investment portfolio. And, and all of these 3 things would practically be possible. If you are poor right now, all 3 of these things would be possible for you. If you just woke up, if you just went and got a better job tomorrow, almost guaranteed. You do not need to start a business. You do not need to throw a Hail Mary. Essentially, if let's say you have a family, right? Let's say you have a family. If you, as the husband, makes $5,000 a month, your wife makes $4,000 a month, and then you have a child that makes $1,000 a month, you're essentially in upper middle class America. If you manage to do that for yourself, or even if the husband makes $4,000 and the wife makes $3,000 and the child makes $1,000, you are still in middle class America. I mean, you have the capacity to do everything that I just said. You can go and you can start a Roth IRA. You can buy a middle class home. You can buy a whole life insurance policy. I mean, you can do all of these things. And if you find a decently good job that actually even gives you, things like a 401k. I don't know what a 401k is, and I don't want to know. I don't really care about that. My investment portfolio, the way I have it set up is essentially I'm going to have money forever no matter what. That is why I have my investment portfolio set up the way that I do. Granted that I do not self-sabotage myself, right? I've always said that the whole, if you will not stay rich. If you manage to get yourself out of being poor, you will not stay rich. Rich is not a set amount of money. If you essentially just have enough money to do whatever you want to a large degree, then you are rich. Granted, because, okay, and what I mean by a large degree is that if you go, oh my God, make $12,000 a month, I should go and buy myself a Lamborghini, you're going to become poor again. You're going right back to number one. Poorness number one, right? Because if you're married and you're making $12,000 a month and you bring home a Lamborghini, your wife is probably going to be pissed. You are now causing your family problems, right? You are now causing your family problems. Your wife hates that you have a Lamborghini, right? It does not matter that you're making $12,000 a month. If you start making $12,000 a month and you go and buy yourself a Lamborghini, it's probably going to start causing your family problems. Your wife is probably going to get pissed. And so, that's, it's very simple. You do not have to throw a Hail Mary. And that is my personal investment portfolio. I have a whole life insurance policy. I have a piece of land, and I have the S&P. By the end of the year, if I had my hand on a holy Bible, if I had a holy book in front of me, I would put my hand on it. I am going to start a Roth IRA account and put the maximum amount that I can for the year in the S&P 500, and I'm just going to hold on to the stock. And so that is essentially my entire investment portfolio. Roth IRA with the S&P 500 in it, a home, a piece of land, a home essentially, and then a whole life insurance policy. That's everything other than the cattle. And then I'm also going to be running the cattle. But the cattle portion of it, you can essentially just do away with that portion and then just put your job in place of that. And if you genuinely just most people, if you just jump 1 centimeter higher, you are in the clear. I'm telling you, you are in the clear. You do not need to throw a Hail Mary. You do not need to go on a ridiculous, nonsensical adventure, right? You do not need to go on these ridiculous, I fell out of heaven at 7, my life is a mystical, magical journey type adventures. I'm going to throw a Hail Mary type adventures. There is no reason to do that. If you essentially have a job that makes you more, that makes you more money, you take that money and then you start an investment portfolio, and then you don't self-sabotage it for yourself, you're essentially good to go. You do not have to even worry about running a business ever again for the eternity of your life. I'm telling you, you don't need that much, you don't need $1 million to be rich. You don't need $10 million to be rich. If you're retired and you have if you have an investment if you can essentially be rich tomorrow. If you truly felt like it, you could, right? Almost anybody could wake up tomorrow and be rich. It's not hard. Just get yourself a little bit better of a job. Don't ruin it for yourself. Buy yourself a nice home, a decent middle class home. Buy a whole life insurance policy. Start a Roth IRA and put the S&P 500 in it and just call it a day. And then work your job. Look to always always look to jump a little bit higher. I think that's a very good way to put it. You know, like me right now, I'm bringing home 6 cattle. I'm jumping a little bit higher, right? Always look to jump a little bit higher. You know, always look to jump a little bit higher. You know, if you're doing good right now, you know, maybe you can do more for your bit. Maybe you can do more for the company that you work with, and get paid more money, get a raise. You know, always look to do a little bit better for yourself. Always look to do better for yourself, right? I mean, don't get stuck in complacency. If you start doing okay for yourself, and then you just become complacent, I mean, you will stagnate, and then that's a whole nother problem in itself. Always just look to do better for yourself, because why not, right? I mean, why not do better for yourself? You know, why not do better for yourself? Why not? Ask yourself that. Why not? I mean, why not do better for yourself, right? You know, if you can do more for the company that you work for, or that you work at, and you can get a raise, then that's a good thing, right? I mean, that's a good thing. Why not do that, right? And then just don't self-sabotage yourself. But that's my entire investment portfolio. It's a whole life insurance policy, a middle-class home, and a Roth IRA with the S&P 500 in it. That's it. I mean, and then I got my cattle, but the cattle portion of it you can replace with your job. You know, it does not matter where your money is coming from. You know, if you have a job, you can just replace that portion of the plan with your job, and then always just work to do better, right? And then don't self-sabotage yourself. That's always the final step. The final step is always do not kick yourself in the dick. Do not self-sabotage yourself, right? But that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.